All right, men. Well, today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, soon to be grounded in God. My name is Mike Frazier, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high achieving Christian men become more grounded in God, find more peace in their lives. So that's what we're doing here. Guys that are successful, but still feel like something's missing, maybe issues in their relationships, maybe feeling just like they're always pressured, right? They're always pressured to perform and want to be able to feel peace, purpose, and power. That's what we're doing here. This little transition period of everything's going to kind of shift by the beginning of the year on the podcast itself and all that. But yeah, for today, we're talking about tending to emotions. And man, I think this is one of the skills that I'm just getting better at developing. I think it's helping me be much more grounded in God, myself, and much better my emotions, much better my relationships. So, yeah, talk about that today. So, some wins, guys, in the program: increased physical intimacy in their marriages, more hugs, more kisses, feeling more peaceful within themselves, better connection with God, spending time with God, being in conversation with God, building that relationship. Wives are suggesting weekend getaways with their husbands. So, finding that attractiveness there as guys are feeling more grounded. And for me, yeah, just tending to my emotions more has been great. I've kind of committed this year process of, with my son ignoring me, just to deal with it, like not make it a big deal. And I'm on day, I think, 6 now. And already, like, it's a lot better than it was just a few days ago. Just having that one focus. I think there's a lot of benefit in doing like one focus for a year. That's mine for this year. So, as a high achieving Christian man, right, probably at some point along the line, you got the message that emotions are weak. Okay. Like, big boys don't cry. Don't be afraid. Suck it up, right? We've heard that a lot. So if you have emotions, or if someone's like, oh, you're so emotional, like most guys would take that as an insult, right? You might have gotten the lesson that emotions are dangerous. Maybe your parents' emotions got out of control sometimes, and that was scary. Or people around you, their emotions got high, intense, whether that was anger, whether that was sadness, and it was just frightening to you. Someone that's supposed to be taking care of you seemed to break down and not be able to take care of themselves or you. And that's scary, right? Maybe see emotions as manipulative. Maybe your family used emotions to get you to do things like doing guilt trips or acting hurt so that you would come and rescue them and make sure they were okay. So you can kind of resent emotions because they felt like a ploy to get you to do what people wanted you to do. So high achieving Christian men, what they will tend to do is take this approach of just suck it up and deal with it. Like, emotions are there, I don't care, right? Stuff emotions down, conceal, don't feel, right? So you can start feeling kind of emotionally numb. You can also be really uncomfortable with other people's emotions, especially if those emotions are things like sadness or fear or anxiety that seem more weak, okay? Which often leads us to tell our kids to suck it up. Because it kind of worked for us, right? We're high achieving guys, we're doing well in our careers. Seemingly from the outside, we're doing pretty well in other ways. Financially, probably our families look pretty good from the outside. But there's strife inside that people don't know about. Inside of us, there's strife inside. That a lot of times maybe we don't even acknowledge, but we are dependent on other people to build us up because we are just always feel this pressure, right? This pressure to perform, this pressure to look a certain way, look good. Doesn't feel very good. But again, like from the outside, we have the trappings of success. And so in some ways, it's kind of like we think we're doing a service to our kids to tell them to suck it up. Because like, well, it kind of got us where we are, which is not bad. And it isn't bad, right? But it starts damaging relationships, right? That's where I'm at. I've damaged some relationships by having this mindset with my wife, with my kids. Fortunately, most of them, it's growing into something great. And, my oldest son, it says slow progress, but hey, it doesn't matter, right? If I'm grounded, that's what matters. If I'm putting good seeds, that's what matters. That's what I can control, okay? And I say that now, feeling much more grounded and okay with that than I have in the past, and that feels great. So again, though, like a lot of us, if we don't know how to tend to our own emotions or the emotions of others, we tell them to just suck it up because we don't want to deal with it, and we don't really know how to deal with our own. And so, of course, we're not going to know how to deal with anybody else's. We also sometimes try to manage other people's emotions if we saw that growing up. It's like if our wife seems sad or anxious or whatever, we take that on ourselves. We try to make sure she's not. Oh, she's anxious. Okay, I better fix this thing. Oh, she got anxious because stuff wasn't picked up. I better go pick it up. Oh, she's sad because this happened. Oh, I better try to fix it, right? Instead of just letting her have her emotions, and probably what she needs more actually is tending to the emotion, letting it move. And we're going to get into that. But the other thing that high achieving Christian guys will do is keep their emotions in until you explode with anger, or you mask them with porn or alcohol or work, right? We're pressured to do all this. We don't feel appreciated for everything we're doing. And that leads to frustration, but we don't really tell anybody about it. So it's just boiling inside of us, and we kind of, until it explodes on somebody, or we mask it with these other things. Okay. So that's the emotional state of, I think, the majority of high achieving Christian guys, myself included. So what do we need to do instead? What we need to do instead is that understand emotions are part of our body. They're part of life. They're part of what God has given us. I'm really into this gardening metaphor lately, and I think it's just a better way to look at life versus something building that, you build and you're done. Like I built this house, it's done, it looks great, right? Versus I'm tending a garden that's always changing and evolving, and it's living, and different plants need different attention and things like that. Sure, there's principles that all plants need, but the amount of water you give is going to vary. The amount of sun is going to vary. What kind of plant food it needs is probably going to be different. So I think that's a better way to look at it for relationship, from a relationship standpoint. And for us, if we want, for our relationship with ourselves, we want to treat it like that garden, something that needs to be tended with care, not with harshness. Okay, that's what we're used to, kind of treating ourselves with harshness. And you get like a tundra situation where some little grass grows and it's pretty darn hardy and strong, but not much variety there and not much range to have much in terms of emotion. Okay. So what are emotions, right? Part of your body, part of your life. From a neuroscience perspective, it's a chemical and electrical impulses that are in your body. And some are more pleasant than others, right? Some emotions are more pleasant than others. No reason to pretend like that's not true. But all emotions have a direction that they want you to move. Like the word emotion in itself, the Latin root means to move out. And so you feel like a stirring up in your body of emotion. What it wants to do is move through and out. Okay. Some of it's going to take a long time. And like through a day, you might have emotions that come and go. Like I'm actually rethinking one of the core models that we do in our program right now, because it's based on the idea that all your emotions are based on thoughts and beliefs that you have, which I think a lot of times that's true, but I think sometimes it isn't necessarily. It's just like things happen and you have an emotional response. But either way, I think the better approach versus the model that we use, it's very useful, but it can lead to a problem where you think that if I want to never have an unpleasant emotion, I can do it because I just have to choose the right thoughts, and then I'll never have an unpleasant emotion again. It's just not accurate. An emotion needs to move, right? It needs to move through you. An analogy I've used before is like emotions are like farts, right? They can build up, they need to be released, right? They need to come out. That one's funny. I think it's pretty accurate. But I like this tending analogy. I think that's just what I like lately. I like that analogy. So what do you do instead, right? Instead of telling you to shut it down, like imagine, you got a tree, it's starting to bloom, right? And you're like, no, like go back down in the ground, right? Like it's not really going to work. And you can try to shove it down, but it's going to come back up. And in fact, if you shove it down, like it's going to form all these weird root systems and maybe like pop out like all over the place when it's like growing underground. Or maybe you do kill it and then eventually you can't, you do kind of have this numbness instead of having emotion, which isn't great either. So instead, let's tend to it, right? Okay, you see that little plant coming out. It looks like anger. Okay. First thing to do, acknowledge that you feel it. Most of us don't do this, right? I have not been very good at this most of my life. This is something relatively new for me that I'm practicing. Just acknowledge that I feel it. Yeah, I feel that way. Okay. And I have good reason to feel that way. Okay. This thing's popping up. This little plant's popping up. It's there. Hey, cool, man. Like you're coming up. Awesome. You have good reason to feel it. And then let it move you. Let it move you whatever direction it's trying to move, right? So let's say it's anger. You feel it coming up. For me, I feel that in my body. Again, and like the thing is when you acknowledge it, you can name it if you want to, or you can just say what's going on in your body. Oh, well, yeah, I feel like for me, it's like red, it's hot, it's in my chest, it's kind of rising. I can, I know that's anger at this point. Say, okay, it's rising up. What is it moving me to do? Okay. If I'm angry at somebody, I could say, okay, it's moving me to hurt that person, right? But really it's moving me to change something or fix something that needs fixing, okay? And when you're taking action on these emotions, right, releasing it, tending to it, letting it move you, we want to do it in a way that's going to serve our best interests long term, serve the interests of others long term. But yeah, that's why we just acknowledge it. Okay, I'm feeling that. A lot of times when you just acknowledge it, that's tending to it enough and it's kind of done. Sometimes you need to release a little more. It's higher energy. So if you're angry, right, you can feel, oh man, I just want to go, strangle my kid right now. You don't want to release it that way. You don't want to, let it move you that way. Redirect that. Go out, do some breathing, run, exercise, right? And eventually fix the thing that needs fixing. Pray. And I've been doing a lot lately with these emotions, just like laying them out to God, right? Saying, God, I'm super mad at my wife, at my son, at my work, this patient, whatever, right? Telling it all to God, laying it out there, okay? Letting it move me to be upset like that. And then letting God talk to me. And a lot of times he has something great to say, something funny, how our relationship usually works. And that lets me then kind of keep going on my journey, right? But if I wouldn't let that anger out, if it's like, oh, I just have to think different, all that, it would stay stuck, okay? It wouldn't move. It's got to move, okay? I really highly recommend just telling God whatever you're feeling, right? Because he can handle it. A good therapist can do it. In our program, we're going to create a place where you can do that with other men there, okay? But again, we got to be better at this. We got to be better at acknowledging it. Hey, man, yeah, you're angry. I get it. Let's hear it. Let it move out. Let it move out of you. What about anxiety? Okay. So anxiety, fear, right? So sometimes it's there to move us to run away from things that are truly dangerous, right? Joseph, he runs away from Potiphar's wife. Okay. Was he fearful there? I don't know exactly how he's feeling, but, he did run away. But yeah, you see, somebody like a tiger, right? Yeah, you need to get away from there. So you run away from there. Anxiety is kind of helping you get away from that. Fears helping you get away from that. Okay. The other thing you want to have it move you to do is move towards courage when you need to. Okay. You can still feel anxiety and then do it anyway. That's what courage is. Okay. A lot of times that's going to be more the answer. But same thing, let it move you, right? Okay, I'm scared of this. I know it's good for me. Tell God, hey, I'm scared to do this. I know I need to move into it anyway. Okay. And I'm going to do it, right? Anxiety turns into courage and you go do it. What about when you feel sad? Let it move you to crying. Usually that's what it's going to be. Let it move you to tell God how sad you are and how upset you are and how hurt you are. Take rest, right? Sadness moves you to do that. So let it move you. Acknowledge it. Yeah, I'm feeling sad. It's heavy in my chest. I feel like I do need to cry. Let yourself cry. Good, right? It's moving you. Jesus cried. Jesus got mad. I just finished this book called The Garden Within. Super good. Would recommend it. What about more pleasant emotions? Happiness, right? Joy moves you to share it typically. Instead of keeping it inside, go share it with people. Okay. So emotions, they move you to do stuff. Okay. Peace, right? Just be in it, share that with people. Maybe it moves you to just be silent, be with God, and be grateful for a while, right? So those pleasant emotions, typically they're there. They move us to share them or enjoy them. The more unpleasant emotions tend to move us to change something, right? Or move us to release something. Even anger, right? Sometimes we just need to release that anger and then it lets us be empathetic to the person. I feel like it's really hard to be empathetic to someone you're angry at, but if you can tend to your own anger. Hey, make sense you're angry. Yeah, he was rude. Yeah, all of that. Tell God, it's not fair, right? Then you come back and you're like, okay, I let my anger out. Now let me try to see from his perspective. Oh, yeah, I've done stuff to hurt him too. Oh, yeah, I guess I could see that in a different way. But until you release that emotion first and tend to your own emotions first, pretty hard to do it for somebody else. So what does this look like? So what it looks like in practice, so maybe your kid comes to you and says, hey, I'm scared of my teacher. Okay. You, if you're kind of like me, you probably say something like, oh, there's nothing to be scared of. Teacher's fine. Like, you don't need to be scared of that. Be tougher. Okay. Old me would have definitely gone that direction. It's not tending, it's dismissing. The emotion does not move. That's what you need to understand, right? It stays stuck in your kid, right? So they're still scared. They're just not going to tell you anymore about it. Okay. And it creates distance between you and the kid, right? They're not going to come to dad anymore. They're going to go to mom, or they're going to talk to somebody else. Or they're going to internalize that lesson and say, oh, I guess I can't ever be scared. And now you've created another generation of folks who can't tend to their emotions very well, right? So a better reaction, right? A kid says, hey, I'm scared of my teacher. You say, hey, yeah, I get it. You're scared. That's okay, right? Being scared is part of life. Tell me about it. What's going on? Now the emotion can move, right? It can come out. It can get addressed, right? And maybe the stuff you were trying to jump to is true. There's nothing to be scared of. But until the fact is, it's not true, because if your kid's scared, they're scared, right? And if you try to tell them they're not, that's stupid, because it's not true. Okay, an emotion is just something that's happening in their body. If they're feeling it, they're feeling it, right? It just needs to move. So don't act like it's anything else, okay? To yourself too. I'm talking to myself for sure here. Okay? All right. So what about another example? So you're mad your son's been disrespecting you, okay? This one hits close to home for me. So a problematic way, let it all out at him, okay? It moves, but it's in a problematic way. Well, you shouldn't be doing that, and look at everything I do for you. You're ungrateful. You're a brat, right? So the anger does move, and it's moving at the guy you're mad at, okay? But it creates distance. It creates hurt, right? If you want a strong relationship with your kid long term, this probably isn't the best path to take, okay? Another thing you try to do, tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't be mad, right? That's not right. That's not the right way to be. I should be a better dad, right? Start adding shame to it. So now you're covering it up again, so it stays stuck. It doesn't move. And so it starts coming out in other weird ways, right? So what's a better way? Acknowledge you're mad. Hey, I'm mad. My son did this. I am angry. I have reason to be mad. I don't think he should be disrespecting me. I have done a lot for him, okay? So you meet with yourself, right? And then you let it move. I'd strongly recommend just trying to tell God about it. Yell at God, cuss at God, tell him this sucks, tell him this is not fair, right? Let it all out at God instead of at your kid or at your wife or whoever you're mad at. And then once it's out, once it's moved out, okay, punchy bag, whatever, right? Let it move. Your anger needs to move. At least for me, anger is a very strong one. And high energy, right? So that's a lot of movement that needs to happen to come out. And so that's fine, right? Once it moves out, that makes room for something else. If you just step it down, it just sits around until it explodes out in weird ways and unproductive ways. So go out, tell God, cuss at God, tell him everything you're mad about, then come back, then listen to God, then figure out what does need to change. Hey, dude, maybe it's you, right? That's a lot of times the answer that I get. Maybe it's me that needs to change. Or maybe there's a different way to approach it. Or maybe you come to the group that we're all going to be in and you get some ideas from the other dudes in the program that can help you, that have been through similar things, right? Yeah. So in summary, emotions, they're part of God's design for us, and they're a good part of it. Emotion itself means to move out. Okay. If you're thinking of plants, it's a plant coming out of the ground. Okay. So it needs to be acknowledged to start the movement. Okay. If you try to jam that plant back in the ground, it's not going to work. You need to acknowledge it. Yeah, I'm feeling this way. And even if you don't know what the name of the emotion is, that's fine. Just say, I'm feeling this in my chest. I'm feeling this in my heart. I'm feeling this in my stomach, right? That's what's happening. You're acknowledging it. And then it needs to move, okay? So the movement from there probably needs to be continued. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just acknowledge it, it just goes away, right? Like that's been happening to me a lot lately as I've been doing more of acknowledging it. Yeah, I'm feeling comfortable with that. And then I say that and then I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. Okay, that's fine. That bothered me. Right? It felt down my chest. It felt uncomfortable. Okay, now it doesn't. Now I'm fine, right? Just acknowledging it, a lot of times that's all the movement that you need. Sometimes, though, you need more. So acknowledge the emotion in yourself and others. It's fine, right? We all like to pretend. A lot of people in our culture, I feel like to pretend that they don't have emotions, but just acknowledge it. It's fine, right? And then have empathy for yourself and others. Tend to it, right? That lets the movement begin. You gotta start by acknowledging it. That lets it begin. And then finish that movement in a productive way, in something that's going to move you closer to the big goals that you have. For me, biggest goal, a life full of people I love that love me, sharing great experiences together. That's my main life goal. And so, yeah, does this action move me closer or farther than that? But I can't think through that in a particularly clear way if I'm really mad. That's why I have to acknowledge it, release it, let it move out. Then let God come back, let wise people come back that can advise me and help me make a good next move that will help me take me to the path that I want to be, right? All right. So if you want to learn to tend to your emotions expertly so that you can just live a better life overall, and then also have your kids operate in a different way with their emotions, learning from you, hopefully from your wife too, if you are married, come join us in Grounded in God. That's what we're going to be doing. There's a big part of it, learning to tend our emotions well. Because look, if we want to have a life full of love, people love us, that we love, love's an emotion, okay? And sometimes to get to love, you got to go through anger. You got to go through sadness. Yeah, that's actually for sure going to be part of it as you're loving people, right? Sometimes you're going to be mad. Sometimes you're going to be sad. Sometimes you're going to be hurt, right? So you got to learn how to move through those emotions, not just bury them, not just keep them underground until they pop up at hurtful times, right? So let's do it. Let's learn how to do it together. So visit strongmen.io for more info about how to join us. We're starting with a small group at the beginning of January, and we'll expand it from there. So you'll fill out an application. We'll talk about 20 minutes, see if it's a good fit, and get rocking and rolling in January 2026. All right, stay strong in God, men. Stay grounded in God, men, and we will see you next episode.